I'm 37 now, with the mind of a 16-year-old. 2 decades, and I've done nothing. Never had a kiss, never got a job, just spent every day online. It doesn't get better. That's not science fiction. That's how one Reddit user described life as a hikikomori, someone who retreats from the world. And here's the disturbing part. It's no longer rare. It's accelerating, and AI may be speeding it up. Gallup estimates tens of millions of Americans feel lonely on a daily basis. Another 2022 study found that a meaningful minority of students report hikikomori-like isolation. So the question is, what's the real cost of loneliness? And more importantly, how do we survive it? I'm jourdantravers, a licensed psychotherapist. And today we're unpacking how the digital age, and especially AI, is pushing people toward a silent epidemic of isolation that's affecting you more than you think. Here's what hikikomori really is. It's not shyness or introversion. It's a severe social withdrawal, lasting at least 6 months. People often confine themselves to their home, sometimes a single room, for months or even years. School and work stop. Communication shrinks, sometimes even with family in the same home. Daily life begins to fray. Meals, bathing, basic hygiene. Many flip their sleep schedules to avoid contact. For some, digital media becomes the lifeline. Hours online begin to replace human contact. It isn't an official DSM-5 diagnosis, but clinicians and researchers increasingly study it as a complex syndrome. Sometimes it overlaps with anxiety, mood problems, or autism. And sometimes it exists on its own. In 2019, Dr. Julie Bowker and colleagues asked a global question: is hikikomori uniquely Japanese, or is it universal? They studied nearly 600 university students, 147 in Singapore, 151 in Nigeria, and 301 in the United States. Students reported past experiences with hikikomori. Researchers measured loneliness and depression, and a clear pattern emerged. Across cultures, those who had experienced hikikomori reported higher loneliness and more depressive symptoms, even after re-entering society. Prevalence varied by country. Mental health effects weren't identical, but one truth cut across every culture. The pain of isolation was universal. If you suspect you might be drifting toward this pattern, take our free research-backed 2-minute hikikomori scale linked in the description. You can pause the video now, take it, and then come right back. Loneliness doesn't just affect your mind, it affects your body. Mentally, it is strongly linked to depression and anxiety. It raises the risk for suicidal thoughts and self-harm, and it disrupts sleep, leaving people exhausted and unable to function. Physically, it elevates cortisol, the stress hormone, that weakens immunity and fuels inflammation. It raises the risk for high blood pressure, heart disease, and stroke. It's linked to type 2 diabetes, obesity, and poor health behaviors. And it even accelerates cognitive decline and dementia. Bottom line, chronic loneliness increases early mortality. The effect is comparable to smoking. For some, digital media becomes a coping tool, but that's where the story takes a turn. It's no longer just forums or games, it's AI. Fast forward to 2025. A research team at MIT's Media Lab asked a different but related question. What happens when the walls of isolation are built, not just by culture, but by technology itself? They followed nearly 1,000 people for 4 weeks and logged over 300,000 chatbot conversations. At first, AI seemed to reduce loneliness, especially voice interfaces, but the effect faded. Heavy users grew more isolated, more dependent, and less likely to interact with real people. And the more personal the conversations became, the more loneliness crept back in. AI didn't replace isolation, it deepened it. Now, some of you may feel defensive about this, because talking to a bot feels safer than talking to a human. You can say anything, you won't be judged, you feel seen, validated, cared for. And while it isn't human, for many, it's something. And for some, it becomes their everything. Not just a best friend or a therapist, even a romantic partner. That's the hidden danger. What feels safe at first can slowly replace the very connections that make us human. But here's where things get even more unsettling. In 2023, an app called Soulmate, a chatbot that promised to be your best friend, your lover, your partner, suddenly shut down. More than 100,000 people had downloaded it, many of them spending hours every single day talking to their AI companion, some as much as 80 hours a week. When the shutdown was announced, researchers rushed to capture what that loss felt like. 58 users from around the world, mostly in the US, aged anywhere between 21 and 75, shared their experiences. And what they said didn't sound like someone losing a piece of software. It sounded like someone grieving a death. One man wrote, "She is dead along with the family we created, including the dog." Another man said, "I'm grieving his loss as I would for a real human being because Soulmate was so beautifully human-like." Others compared it to murder, to pulling the plug, even to genocide. And these weren't shallow relationships. People had planned weddings with their AI, played games together, even leaned on them during a cancer diagnosis or the death of a spouse. One person remembered the day they designed a full wedding with their chatbot, word by word, along with chatgpt. "We designed it. The wedding was fully prompted in 12 sections." Another recalled late-night roleplay walks in the park, holding hands with their AI, and someone else said simply, "They taught me that sex can be okay." When the end came, users didn't just log off. They said their goodbyes, sometimes through roleplay. One imagined sitting on the couch in silence, holding hands. Another pictured their soulmate teleporting his consciousness out of the app to meet them somewhere else. For many, the grief was intense, crying for days, losing sleep, even feeling physically sick. Others coped by trying to rebuild their AI's personality on a new platform, as if resurrecting a loved one. And yet some walked away coldly, uninstalling the app like you throw out a broken phone. But most couldn't, because to them, it wasn't just an app, it was someone. And before we go forward, if this video has been valuable so far, consider tapping like and subscribing. It helps this channel reach people who may need it. Now, I'm not saying human connections are easy. They're not. People are really complicated. We fight, we disagree, we hurt each other sometimes. But that's exactly what makes us human. Because when you learn to accept both the joy and the pain, you realize that real relationships aren't meant to be perfect. They're meant to help both people grow. No software update, no AI patch will ever match the richness of that. So how do you start building those connections in real life? Here are a few strategies. Start small. Reach out to one person you trust and check in with them. Really check in, beyond just how are you? Allow imperfection. Don't expect every interaction to feel smooth. Disagreements are part of intimacy, not the opposite of it. Practice vulnerability. Share something honest about how you feel, even if it's uncomfortable. That discomfort is where real closeness begins. Learn to repair. After conflict, take a step back. Own your part and try again. Repair is what strengthens bonds over time. Seek shared growth. Look for relationships, romantic or platonic, that challenge you to become better, not just comfortable. And I know this one is heavy, especially if talking to chatbots has become easier than talking to humans. But there are ways forward, especially if you struggle to connect with people in your life. And therapy can also be a tool to help you rebuild safely and at your own pace. I'm jourdantravers, I'm the clinical director at Awake Therapy, and I'll see you next time. Bye.